Is your husband always unhappy? Like, no matter what you do, you try this, you try that, and then you finally do all the things he wants you to do, and he changes the rules and says, okay, do this or do that, the other thing. Today, we have a very special guest. It's anonymous. It's complete. It's a Get Real with Leah. So you will not know who she is. You will not know her real name, her real identity. So she can talk in a synthesizer and we can really dig deep. Okay, stay tuned. Ladies, we have an amazing show today, and I want you to tell you, this is one of those things. First of all, start typing questions, because this is one of those things where we all can somehow relate to it. I have a woman on the show today. She's an anonymous woman from Australia, from England, not Australia, whatever. She's from somewhere in the world, not anywhere that you would know. And we changed her name and we changed her identity, and we have her voice is coming through this big synthesizer. And what we're going to do is we're going to get right into the meat of what her issue is. And her issue is that her husband's always unhappy. So it's kind of like, no matter what, it's not, I don't know if we would call him a pessimist. She'll answer that in a second, but he always sees the cup as half empty. And the problem that they're facing, that is just, she doesn't know how to resolve, how to come together and be close with her husband with his unhappiness, is that she grew up in a very, very neat household. Everything was fine, but there was no love. And he grew up in a house that was very, very messy and dysfunctional. I don't know if I want to call it dysfunctional. I'm not a clinical psychologist that can say it's dysfunctional, but he was not happy with his childhood. So he had an unhappy childhood in a very messy house. He comes into this marriage wanting everything to be like, in his mind, having order and having the house look a certain way and run a certain way is very important to him in terms of his household. And for her, she's like, no, you don't get it. You can have the nicest, neatest house. I would rather leave the living room completely a mess and sit on the floor and play games with my kids and tell them stories and read them books and have the place be a disaster and have them feel my love very, very deeply than to exhaust myself and clean the whole house and snap at everybody. They have a difference of opinion here, and it's very, very hard. And on top of that, and that's the first issue. The second issue is a little bit of, there's a feeling of emotional neediness that's not met. Like she feels like they're not really, really connecting either. So, we've got this one big issue backed up by this other issue, and this is what she's dealing with. So we have her on the phone right now. You're going to hear she sounds like a man. She sounds like witness protection thing. Type your questions in. Sarit is here in the house also, but I'd like to welcome to the show Miri. She's been married 14 years. She's got 4 kids, and welcome to the show, Miri.
Thank you, Leah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did I explain the situation accurately, or is there anything you want to add to what I had to say about your marriage?
It sounded pretty accurate. Just the thing is, he is naturally more organized, and not necessarily that his house was such a mess that it bothers him that I'm not so organized. It was more that he's just very organized. Everything is, when he goes on a business trip, he knows every minute what he's doing, and he's just very organized by nature, and I'm not as much. And he would really want me to be where he is in the organization level.
Right. So are there things in that he appreciates about you besides that? I mean, I'm just trying to assess out, like, is he just like, you're unhappy, you're not organized, so he's written it off, or are there other things that you feel appreciated
for?
Question.
Right. So I think deep down, he knows and appreciates that I'm loving and patient and a good mom, and I'm there for him emotionally, and I'm very supportive of him. But I think because he's also overwhelmed with other things in his life, he has a lot on his plate, and coupled with the fact that he is a little bit more pessimistic and he does see the cup half empty, that he just zeroes in and focuses on this, that it's not organized. And yes, we have Baruch Hashem, we have 4 kids, and it does get messy, and he comes home and he sees that mess. So that's life. That's just the way it is. But he also really needs a neat house to function well. He said that when everything's neat, he can thrive, which I understand. But it's just I can't be everything. I can't be loving, patient, there for my kids, and also everything. Because if I use all my energy on the organization and cleaning up and stuff like that, I feel like I'm not gonna have enough for the children. And even for him, I'm not going to have enough patience.
So I'm having a sneeze attack. I don't know what's wrong. Anyway, at least now, a few months ago, like, maybe I've got COVID. Whatever. Now it's like, okay, it's just a sneeze, Leah. Chill out. Okay. Okay, so but the question I have for you is, so what's the big deal? So, in the pre-show interview, you had said he got you a housekeeping help. You said,
Right.
that. So why didn't that solve the problem?
Okay, so that's a good question. So what happened is the housekeeper comes every single day except for Sunday, but our Shavuos was on Sunday, and I did not have a housekeeper, and I just focused on getting all the cooking done and getting everything ready before Yantif. And he came home from shul, and the house, it was a mess. Even though I did enough because I know that it was Sunday, and I know he needs it neat, and I wasn't gonna have a housekeeper, so I tried my best, but that's it. And he knows I try my best. He was home, he saw, but he still came home and he just couldn't take it. So when he sees that, he remembers all the other times that it wasn't organized and that this drawer is not organized. And he kind of
the what door? The drawer? The what?
So that let's say we have like a junk drawer in the.
Oh, we talk a lot about the junk drawer here. How did you know? Maybe you watched other shows. So he was upset about the junk drawer didn't have what he needed when he needed it.
Yeah, but I'm saying it mainly was on Sunday when the house was a mess and he came home from show, and he was just like, you can get it done, you can get a housekeeper, another housekeeper's come on Sunday. She's like, you just can't do it. He's like, you're like above water, you're right above water, you just make it. And it hurts me because I feel like I do so many other things right. And he just zeroes in on the fact that I'm not as organized. And it just, I wish he had more appreciation for the good, and then he would be happier instead of focusing on the negative.
I hear. When you said you said he came home and then he lost it. What happened? Tell us.
No, I said he didn't lose it, but we just kept arguing about how he just said like I can't do it, and I'm not. Like
you
him.
can't
Like,
do it, or he can't do it. He's saying you are incapable. He's like basically labeling.
Exactly. It's like you have limitations. This is your limitation. When you admit to your limitation, then we can, then he'll calm down. He wants me to admit to it, but I don't know. I guess I could admit to it, but what about all the rest that I do? I want some praise, not just criticism. I feel like I'm on the defense all the time.
I hear that. Have you like tried to have a heart-to-heart conversation with him and told him that it hurts you when that he's seeing the cup half empty and that he's not appreciating you for the things that you do? Have you ever tried to have that conversation with him?
So we touched on that on Sunday night when we were arguing about that the house wasn't organized, and he understands. And he just said he needs to work on himself to just realize that I am just not that organized wife that he wished I was. And he just needs to work on himself. And
that's huge. Isn't that huge?
It is. It is. But I just hope that's actually going to happen because we've been arguing about it, and it just keeps coming up. And it's just a big issue in our marriage where he's just so unhappy that it's messy. Something spills. He can't handle it.
Mm-hmm. So this, but he thinks that's your issue, not his own issues. What you're saying, it seems like there was a transition Sunday night from when we talked last week to now. That's growth. That he's willing to say that it's something he needs to work on. I mean, that's huge. I mean, I feel like you had a breakthrough before we even got to the show.
You're right. You are. That did happen.
Huge.
And it is huge. It is huge.
So
I still wish I want him to be happy. I don't want him to focus on, I think he can work on it, but I also want him to see the positive in me and see how much I do.
Okay, so hold on. I just want to point this out to everybody who's listening, because you actually had the breakthrough that I was hoping for in this show before the show. So when we talked last week, whoever you became out of that conversation, or you're yourself, I don't want to take credit for it, but I'm just saying there was something that shifted in you that allowed your husband to take ownership. Before it was your fault. That's when we talked last week, it was all your fault. And he wasn't even taking any responsibility. So the fact that he did that, maybe it's good on him. Maybe he's just a wonderful guy and he suddenly woke up and smelled the coffee, but I don't think so. I think the power that women have is the ability to create the space, the platform for another person to change, our kid, whether that's our kids or other people or whatever, but here in specific, to have our husband change by just opening up if you were blaming and saying, it's your fault, or whatever, he would never be able to have done what he did. But because you kind of were like, well, I just want to make you happy, like as we talked about last week, and you just said, I just want to make you happy. It laid the groundwork for him to be able to take accountability for the situation, to recognize that maybe there is something he is doing in the mix that is making it not work. So you just have to pat yourself on the back for how you are being. Seriously, Miri, this is like a wake-up call. But the reason I'm pointing it out so specifically and so clearly is you will understand how to do that in the future. If you do something and there's a breakthrough and something's suddenly wonderful and you feel like, oh, it just fell out of the sky, you've lost all your power. Whereas if you realize the fact that you're not making him bad and wrong for the way he is, and you're just letting him come, letting him be closer to you. You let some kind of a guard down to let him have that breakthrough. So very powerful. So yasher koach. Okay. Wait, we've got questions coming in from just 1 second on the questions. The thing that we want to go to now is to figure out, okay, so now he's had this breakthrough. He's willing to take it on himself. Here's the wrong thing to do. The wrong thing to do is, well, you said that you were going to, whatever, and you were going to change, and it's not my fault. That bad, wrong. No, don't go there. Okay. The way to have that area of him growing is by doing whatever you possibly can to make him comfortable in what he needs comforting in. So you are very, from our conversation, you're a very nurturing mom. I mean, I don't know with that many kids all under a certain age that I would just be able to plop down in the middle of I'm in the middle of cleaning, or I'm in the middle of cooking, or I'm in the middle of, emails, or paying the insurance bills, whatever it is that you're occupying, or busy with your work or whatever, to drop down and start reading kids' books for 3 hours in a row. I don't know. So you're a very nurturing mom. And what we want to start to think, and then I'm going to take the questions, and type your questions in, ladies. I want to hear from you. What I want you to start thinking about is that same level of nurturing that you give your kids, to try and recognize that's what's needed in your relationship with your husband right now. Now, it's not like you're treating him like a kid, God forbid, or trying to, make him feel less than you, or trying to condescend to his level. Not at all. But there is a level of nurturing that comes kind of naturally from women towards their kids. Doesn't come so naturally towards us, for many people, towards their husbands, because they should be able to take care of themselves. They're a grown adult. Come on, wake up. I take care of myself. We all need nurturing. And if you were sick in bed and your husband's like, oh, can I bring you some tea? It's like that nurturing is like, oh, wow, it feels awesome. This is what our husbands need. This is what your husband is needing right now. And the more you shower nurturing on him, even, and I might get myself in trouble by saying this, but even at the expense of your children, okay? So your kids are screaming and whatever, they need dinner and they need whatever, and your husband, you got it. Your husband needs nurturing right now. He just came from a bad business deal, or I don't know if he's a lawyer, whatever he is, he needs nurturing right now. And your kids also need nurturing. Go with your husband, unless there's a safety issue, but go with your husband to nurture him and take care of him first. Okay. And then you will see he could care less about he will care less about how clean the house is, if he feels totally taken care of. And maybe that's part of nurturing him is okay, you're in the middle of making a chicken dish and he's on his way home from shul and he's going to walk in the door and the house is a disaster. Maybe instead of doing the paprikash or whatever, is that a real, whatever, instead of doing the thing you're going to stuff under garlic cloves and whatever, forget that. Just sprinkle some salt and pepper, throw it in the stove and go do clean the living room, that's called nurturing your husband.
Got it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
these are some things to try. Again, some of them will work. Some of them may not work, but these are all tools to try to have him feel taken care of. Because a man who feels nurtured and taken care of and whatever, a lot of the things that he might be picking at you for will lessen. So, okay, we're going to take a question here. Go right ahead, Sarit.
Well, somebody actually on Instagram, somebody said, sounds like he's OCD. So they're wondering, is it that the house is so messy, or like, what's the level of, like, does he want everything in the right place? And if anything's out of place,
Excellent
Yeah,
question.
that's a very good question. Okay, so we have a housekeeper every day. So the house is definitely neat. Every day he comes home and it's neat. Everything's put away. Yes, when you open some drawers, it's not so organized. Maybe there's a level of OCD. Maybe there is. I don't know. See, I don't know what's normal. I don't know if every house, every drawer has to be so neat. It's a personality. There's some woman that every single drawer is perfectly and neat, and then there's some women that don't care as much. So like we were talking about before, I focus more of my energy and mental power and emotional energy on my family, and making it neat. But as Leah said, nurturing my husband, if I'm not mistaken, right, it's not necessarily so much emotional stuff. It's more the keeping it organized and neat, and then he'll feel nurtured in that way. Is that correct, Leah?
Well, it may be, maybe not. I mean, you had said in our pre-show interview, you said that I feel like no matter what I do, he's just an unhappy person and he's not going to be happy. Even if I turned into the most organized person in the world, he'd peck at something else. Is that
okay? Okay, so
is that true? I don't know.
So since I've gotten a housekeeper every day, he has calmed down. And I do believe that if I did keep things more organized, he would appreciate it. But I don't know if I can forever on every single day keep it perfectly organized like he likes it. I could try my best, but Baruch Hashem, on his part, he said he'll work on it. And if I do my part and work on it too, like he'll work on being more relaxed about it and just understanding that I'm not as organized as him. And if I become a little more organized, then we can meet in the middle and hopefully there will be a peaceful environment.
Yeah, amen. But also, here's the other thing, Miri, is that a lot of his what's driving him is from what I understand, a lot of what is driving him is his how he was raised, that he wasn't happy with how he was raised, and that he had a lot of trauma and drama in his childhood, and that's kind of, he's dragging that forth, into what's going on in his home right now. Yes. And I think that a lot of the issues, there's a lot of healing that goes on. Now you have many kids or whatever. So, but I was going to say there's a lot of healing that goes on in the first few years of marriage that may or may not have happened in your marriage. And, he may still be carrying a lot of burdens from his childhood that, I don't know whether he'd be open to getting help or talking to somebody about it. If there's anybody in his life he could talk to about it, because, it could be that you're going to do all these great ideas and you're going to shower and pour, and he's still the other half of a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit because he has so much drama and unresolved trauma from his childhood. So is that something he would even consider doing? And do you think that's even necessary? I mean, a lot of people can benefit from it, even if it's not crucial, whatever. But it seems to me like, ignoring his past and his childhood would be an error here. So what do you think about that?
I absolutely agree with you. I think that there were things that happened in the childhood that did not heal through the marriage. I think help, to go see someone would really benefit him. But let me think about it. I did tell him to go before, and he went one time, and that's it. He didn't go again. I think he's a man, and he's tough, and he helps a lot of people. And Baruch Hashem, he's self-employed, so he really feels like he's got it all and he's okay. And if I just took care of the house better, things would calm. It would calm him down, and he would feel better. But I do believe that a lot of trauma is carried over, maybe even subconsciously.
I hear.
Right, because Leah, we're having a few comments, but someone saying, meaning in his house, if the mess, he just associates mess with dysfunction and traumatic everything. Like he didn't function in it. So I guess he also maybe doesn't want his children to grow up in that type of environment. So for him, mess is terrible. Like, is he like that? People are asking, is he like that in other areas of the relationship where everything needs to be perfect or a certain way? The kids have to look a certain way, dress a certain way. They have to get certain grades. Is he like that in all aspects? Does she have to look a certain way every time she comes down or whatever? Or is it just the house?
Question. It's only with the kids.
What do you mean?
So it's meaning before we had kids, he was not like this at all. If I had to make a normal dinner, it's fine. Nothing has to be perfect. He trusts the way whatever I dress, he's happy with it. It's just with the kids. He wants me to be on top of the kids, like totally, yes, because he grew up in a home that was dysfunctional. Things were out of control. And he really wants his children to be Miss Sadar and do their homework and everything organized and be on top of everything of theirs, their friends, it is my job, but I try my best. I can only do what I can do. I'm one person. And another additional thing is he's always working. So it's just me doing it all. He says it's this is your domain. This is the woman's domain. I do what I'm supposed to do, make the money and so on. So he has high standards and high expectations, which I understand, and he wants the best for his kids. And alongside, he didn't have a good childhood and things were chaotic and out of control. But I'm his wife, and also, it's very good for the kids to have peace and to see that the husband respects the wife and appreciates the wife. And I'm just there to help him, not to hurt him in any way.
So one thing you might try to have him sort of see things from a deeper perspective is to sit down, at a time when, not in the middle of an argument, not in the middle of when he's mad at you for having the house a mess or whatever he's doing that might be irrational or whatever, at a time when there's harmony, as much as that, where you get to, and the kids are, asleep or something like that. And just tell him, here's what I like to do. I want to find out what will make you happy. My whole goal in my life is to make you happy. And you keep mentioning that you're not, and this whole organizing thing and keeping the house in a certain way is bothering you, making you unhappy. So here's what I like to do. I'd like to give a scenario, and then you tell me, what to do. And you pre-write down 5 scenarios. So the first scenario is, okay, I spent the entire day, it was Erev Shavuos, and I'm cleaning, and we didn't have household help, and I didn't whatever. What bothered you is that there were, Legos all over the front foyer. Okay. And there, whatever it is, the real things that actually happened. You can use hypothetical or you can use real things. Tell me, sweet husband, tell me, dear husband, what would you have wanted me to do at that point? And then zip your lip and say nothing and let him answer. And I say, well, first of all, I would want you to have woken up 2 hours earlier so you could have cleaned the house before you started, cooking. And you're like, oh, okay, right. And then they'll say, also, I would like when the kids were in the backyard, and you were doing that thing at the same time you were cooking the meal, you could have had laundry going on in the washer and dryer at the same time. And you're like, okay. Like, in other words, he will start saying what his ideal scenario is. And hopefully that'll wake him up to how unrealistic his expectations are. And in fact, how unkind they are, how unforgiving they are, how not just unrealistic, but it's kind of like he's making demands of you that are unreasonable for what your life is. And I think if you take it on that way, not as a game to let's make him see how, unreasonable he is, but really as a game, say, and then he'll say, okay, so, and then you answer back and you say, okay, I get it. You could have wanted me to wake up 2 hours earlier to do everything. But do you realize that I went to bed an hour and a half late because I wanted to finish the dishes in the kitchen, or I wanted to, whatever it is, and do you realize, oh, when I was doing the dinner and I didn't do the laundry because there was laundry in there, and I figured the housekeeper's coming the next day, let her do it. It's like, in other words, you're walking him through what your thought processes are in your decision making, because you are making decisions that he's saying those are the wrong decisions, and you're like, I'm up against the wall, guy. What would you do in this situation? And I want to know what I should be doing. And I believe if you have a bunch of scenarios like this and sincerely from your heart want to hear what he has to say about him, I think two things will happen. One is you might learn things that you don't know already. Like you might learn that, I would have wanted you to have takeout chicken and get the laundry done. Or, I would want you to order in the food and clean the living room. That's what I'd want. You're like, really? Oh, you sure? I feel bad. I want my kids to, I grew up and my mother had takeout food all the time and I felt really bad. And I want my kids to taste my challah and to taste my food that I make. That's an important value to me. If you tell me that's what you prefer, maybe I can work towards getting takeout food every once in a while. But for me, that feels like less homey and less yummy. But what do you think, dear? And you see, there's a dialogue going on here that he's beginning to understand where you're coming from and what you're thinking and what is important to you. You following that?
Yeah. But there's something to say. I can do that, and I can work on, we can talk about it, and maybe I can use some of his ideas or do what he wants me to do. But, and I'm happy to do that. But what I don't like is that once I do it, it's like, okay, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say thank you. He'll just, if let's say something's a bit salty, he'll just mention that and that's it. But he doesn't really mention something salty. That's not true. But he'll point on something that's, I didn't even realize was missing, or I didn't even, he's just very, I guess he is a little perfectionist. He just focuses on the negative. And I feel like even if I do so much, he'll be happier, definitely. He'll be calmer, definitely. I guess that's a big step though. It is a big step, and I shouldn't expect him to just be like, "Oh my God, you did so much, thank you." No.
Well, also you're missing one very crucial factor, and this. Oh, I missed it. Hey, where'd my staff go? Hello, guys. Where'd they go? Should I hang up? Okay, I'm going to hang up and call them back. Okay, tap to join. Hold on a sec, guys.
I saw her.
Oh, there you are. Oh, good. I see you.
We're here.
Good. Okay, good. Fine. So yeah, hold on with your questions there, Sarit. Hold on. I just want to, what was I about to say?
That you're missing one thing
One
here.
thing I want to add, he expects it, meaning he doesn't appreciate it. He just expected me to be that way. So
right.
I'm under his expectations.
Okay, so fine. So here's one thing, and this is for everybody listening. This is like the game changer in your marriage. And that is, instead of waiting for appreciation from your husband to come into you, right? Which is what we all do. It's taking 100% responsibility for getting the appreciation that you need. So here's how this looks. And this is from our 3,000-year-old track record, bulletproof plan of how to have a serenity and happiness and closeness in your marriage, okay? Is that there is women are people, but particularly women are a bottomless pit of needing appreciation, okay? And they're married to people who are completely unable to meet them, to appreciate them in the quantity and quality that they desperately need, okay? So that's a problem. Like, why would God do that? Like, come on, like, really? Like, why couldn't you just give us a husband who God could have put a computer chip in our husband's brain and said, oh, this food is wonderful. Wow, look at all you clean today. And the kids all are dressed. And how did you get everybody dressed and get yourself dressed and are ready on time? You're amazing. This is not in a man's vocabulary. As you said, he just expects it. Okay. So how does this look in terms of getting the appreciation that a woman needs? If you wait for your husband to do it, maybe every blue moon, he'll say something nice to you. And that's an A++++ compliment or appreciation. 99% of the time, he'll say nothing, or he'll tell you the soup is too salty, or he'll criticize. So as a woman, it's our responsibility to get the appreciation we need. And how do we know this? Because otherwise God would have made him be able to do it. And the thing is, I'm telling you this might sound, if you have never heard this before, because I talk about this a lot in many of the shows. If you have never heard this before, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, really? And if I were to say to my husband, wow, wasn't that dinner delicious? And look at all the kids are dressed, right? And he would say, yeah, that would not feel good, Leah. Can I tell you something? Here's a big secret. It feels awesome. Okay. Is it as good as the A+++ appreciation? No, it's good enough. It's a B- or a B+ appreciation. This is one of those things you got to try this at home. And Miri, what you have to understand is in the pre-show interview, you were telling me how you don't feel emotionally connected. You don't feel like he gets you. You don't feel validated. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is the way to get validated, is start complimenting yourself. And if your husband is the kind who will, be like, what do you, really, if he's that type, then pre-sell him on it and tell him, listen, I just learned this thing. I was learning this in a class or whatever. It seems pretty good. And they said that men, aren't really good at appreciating their wives as much as a wife needs to be appreciated. So a woman walks around with a bottom, kind of like a empty bucket of appreciation. It's completely got dust bunnies around at the bottom of it. Okay. So she feels completely unappreciated. And to wait for a husband is a very big pain for the husband. Is like, and it'll never happen. And the wife constantly feels like she's really nothing, doing nothing great in her life. And she feels very bad and down. Okay. However, what I learned, our Masura, our tradition is that a woman should solicit that appreciation, and her husband, all he has to do is say yes. And so the husband will be like, huh. And say, listen, husband, just try this. Okay. Try this and we'll see if it works. Fine. So by the way, on Marriage Secrets, this is my book, Marriage Secrets. It's got 220 sources, Torah sources in there, but there's a whole chapter on appreciation and getting the appreciation you need. So this is a game changer. By the way, I make no money from this book. It all goes for Shalom Bias, so I can push it as much as I want. But there's a whole chapter on appreciation and with sources and everything. And what it talks about is it's really a game changer for women, because they finally feel like they are what the things they are doing and the work that they're putting in gets appreciated. I want you to know, if your husband was to say to you, let's say you worked all day and you went to 4 different stores to get the special sriracha spice that you wanted on the chicken, and your husband will never know that. And if he did know, he'd say, oh yeah, it tastes good. He'll never be able to get to the depths. Maybe your girlfriend or your sister can get to the depths of complimenting you, but you know yourself better. You can say, wow, dear. So as he's eating the chicken, wow, dear, and you're doing a ventriloquist, say, this is the best chicken I ever had. I didn't realize that you went to 4 different stores to get this spice, and you're so wonderful, and whatever. Your husband will laugh and he'll say, yes, that's true. And that has to be good enough for you. I'm just telling you, this is an unbelievable game changer. This is something to try. There's 6 different ways, or is there 7? 6 different ways.
No, yeah, 6.
So thank you. Sorry. 6 different ways to solicit it, either just by saying it and having him say yes, or by saying, if he's a creative type, say, can you give me a compliment? I kind of need a compliment right now. I need you to say something nice about the meal. I worked so hard and whatever. Okay, so fine.
Right. So Leah, I have a bunch of comments, but first, how I always say how in my relationship, I sometimes am like the man and I need a lot of this help, which is, whatever. So my husband actually on Yontif, when I came downstairs, I noticed that the whole table had been cleared and all the flowers had been put back the right way. And I kept thinking, oh, maybe it was my daughter, possibly. But I kept thinking in the back of my mind, it probably could have been my husband because he had been up earlier. And I was like, oh, when he comes home, I'm going to tell him, like, oh, wow, it was so nice to come down to clean. And of course, right, you know me. Like, if you think I remembered any of that, right? So as we're sitting down at the end of the day, like 6, 7 o'clock at night, and we're sitting together, and he goes, did you notice that there was an elf that came to the house this morning and cleared the table and set up the flowers? And he literally went into details of every little thing he did. I'm like, yes, oh my gosh, yes, I meant to tell you. Awesome. So it really works. He totally, by the way, I've taught him this technique because I'm so bad at it. And I'm like, just use it. Just solicit my appreciation. I promise I will give it to you. Yeah, no, it's so awesome. It works. It really works. The thing is, it seems like when you first hear this, it seems like this will never work. Like, how would it feel good to say, isn't the soup delicious? And him to say, yes.
Try it one time, Miri. I'm telling you right now, and everybody listening, try it one time. You'll see, it's pretty nice, because you know how to compliment yourself. A woman says, she said, "Oh, my husband doesn't notice anything. I would get a new outfit, a new jewelry, a new whatever, I get my nails done. Does not notice." Tell him. Tell him, okay, so the fact that he doesn't notice doesn't mean he doesn't love you. It doesn't mean he doesn't appreciate you. It doesn't mean he doesn't want to devote his entire life to making you happy. It just means things aren't so, aren't on his radar. Tell him, ask him, solicit that appreciation.
Yeah, it works.
It's going to be a big game changer. Okay, go with the
Okay,
next
so
question.
Torah Anytime, firstly, Torah Anytime live stream. Goldie said earlier, if it means so much to him, why doesn't he hire a personal organizer or help out in a different way? Because obviously they could do it. So Dina, who's our regular on Torah Anytime live stream, we love you, Dina, said, Goldie, he may not have finances or the strength or time to help out. So she obviously listens to your thing that might not be the way to go. But Goldie said, yes. I actually started doing it when I read, this is about obviously the accomplishment solicitation. I actually started doing it when I read Leah's book. I constantly point out my little achievements to my husband. It works so well.
Yay!
And Dina responded, yes, it totally works with my hubby. When I compliment myself, it always gets us giggling.
Yeah,
So
gorgeous,
gorgeous. It really
those are testimonials. Thank you, ladies, for
testimonials.
that.
Yes,
That's more powerful than anything I say. I can go, blah, blah, blah. But you saying that it worked for you is very vivid. So
yeah,
good,
more
very
powerful than me saying all my craziness. So definitely keep those comments coming. But somebody on Facebook actually said, we did learn 1 week from you, Leah, that organization in a home does create shalom in the home. So clutter can really create chaos. However, she did say also, someone who can't find anything positive is suffocating. He sounds so draining.
Yeah.
I hear her.
Is that accurate?
She said someone that's so negative is down the drain. What did she say?
No, it's draining. Yeah, down the drain.
Yeah, down the drain. Yeah. No, he's suffocating. He feels so suffocating. It feels like he's draining.
It is draining. And I'll be honest with you, it just made me very strong and just not let it in. It really has made me strong because it would drain me and it would bring me down. And I don't want to be that way, especially in front of my children. I want them to see me happy, and I need my strength and my energy. And the negative, pessimistic energy is draining, but I don't let it in. I stay strong and I do the best that I can, and that's it. This is me. This is the best I can do. He also needs to work on that. I heard that it's a meter that needs to be worked on, having an Ein Tova and seeing the good, not focusing on the negative.
So now we want to strengthen his thing of something where he said this Sunday that it's something he needs to work on.
Yeah.
That's very, very powerful. Who's beeping or something? I get distracted easily. Hello. So the question for you, Miri, is I want to go into the bit about emotional neediness, because we all emotional needy. Some to more or less extents than the other, some more emotionally needy and admit it, and some people don't admit it. Okay. So a lot of people, a lot of women who are, especially people who are powerhouse women or whatever, we're all powerhouse women, but I just, somebody who's accomplishing a lot in the traditional sense or whatever. They run a business, they work, they have kids, everyone looks in matching outfits, whatever. So they have a very, very hard time admitting their own neediness. It's very hard for us as women. It's really politically incorrect to say I'm needy for my husband. I'm needy for his emotional support. I'm needy for his being there for me when I need him, and when I'm feeling down. It's very hard for women to admit. So, but there's a level of closeness that is available only with vulnerability. So what I want to look at now is the second issue that we talked about, is emotional connectedness, because you're talking about how, aside from this sort of overt arguments that you have about house, running the house, is this feeling that you have of emotional neediness and him meeting it or not meeting it. And I want to talk a little bit about that. And I want to ask you a question, which is, how much of that is stemming from your own childhood and your own feelings of abandonment or nobody there for you, versus what's there right now with your husband who's shows up every day, who's taking care of you, physically, financially, he's there. So the question is, how much of it stems from your childhood and how much is you're feeling that neediness driven? We all feel needy. What I'm talking about is her unmet, her needs, her feeling that her needs are not met in her relationship.
So I hear what you're saying. Because I'm pretty self-aware. I could try to answer as best as knowing myself. I think that in the beginning of the marriage there was more neediness, because I didn't get enough growing up. But Baruch Hashem, I've come along and I've tried to heal myself and really become an adult and a strong woman and self-care and listening to my emotions and taking care of myself on different ways. And I don't really think it's from that not getting enough when I was a child. I really think now it's just me as a woman, as a wife. I want my husband to be emotionally there for me, check in with me. How are you? I see it's hard for you. You're with the kids. There's homework. There's lunches to make. Do you want my help? I know it's not his job, but just to see me, just to see what I'm going through, just to ask, can I help you? Just to care. I'm his wife. I would expect that he would care about how I'm doing, and if he would see I'm having a hard time, he would want to help me and want to be there for me. That's what I'm talking about. But at the same time, because he's focuses on the negative, and I don't know when the next time he's going to come and say, why is this like this, and why didn't you finish cleaning after dinner? Why is the food still out? That it's just, I'm already trying to stay strong and not let that hurt me. That not getting enough from him emotionally is not even as important as just have him just leave me alone and just appreciate what I'm doing. Not even appreciate, just don't say anything if you don't like it. Or if there is something that bothers him, I'm happy to hear. And just say it nicely. And just say, it really bothers me when there's books all over and we're not taking care of the books that, we bought books, they should be taken care of, put on a bookshelf. When the kids finish reading, they should put it back. Just tell it to me nicely. I'm open. I'm gonna hear you. But just when it comes out critical and negative and it's one thing after the next, it's just I'm just I don't even hear it anymore. There's almost like a wall that just is protecting me from not getting hurt.
Are there times when you feel close?
Yes.
That's good.
But I don't want to just let that totally in and forget about keeping my guard up, because I don't know when else again he's going to get upset. It's almost like you never know what's going to happen. So I don't want to get hurt. So I just yes, I enjoy the closeness. It's nice. I don't take it too much emotionally. I don't let it in too much. It's just kind of more in my mind, not really so much deeply in my heart.
So a feeling of safety that you're saying you don't have a feeling of safety in the relationship in terms of, you don't know when he's going to criticize you.
Right.
Is that something you've ever been able to talk to him about?
I never, thought about it like safety wise, like that, like emotionally safe. But if I would talk to him about it, I think he would hear. He's open to hearing things. He's not like, oh, I'm perfect and you're not. He would hear. He can listen. I guess
if you couch that in a way that was like, I want to bring something up because I want to be closer to you and I want to be able to take care of you better. And what I want to tell you, I feel like is going to hurt you and make you defensive or make you feel like I don't love you or like, you're bad and wrong or something like that. Please, I'm begging you not to hear what I'm about to say as that. I'm saying it because it's a hurdle that I see in our marriage or in our relationship that I want to get on the other side of. And that is that sometimes I don't really feel safe in the relationship because I feel like you're going to criticize me. And I realize it makes me on guard and, unable to be, let my guard down with you and to be vulnerable with you and to take care of you as well as I want to take care of you. Can we just brainstorm ways that we can make me feel more safe? I'm not sure how to even do it or what, I don't even have an agenda in this conversation of how I think it should look or how I want it to look. All I just know is that I recognize that, I don't feel safe some of the times. Would that be a conversation that you could have with him?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. That's great. I mean, I think that's a little unusual. I think it would be hard pressed to find a woman who would be able to express that in a yummy way and to have a husband who could hear it. And what do you think his thoughts on it will be? And the reason I'm going, Miri, the reason I'm going through this with you is for the people who are listening and for yourself. Like when you are planning a conversation with your husband that is like hard, complicated, potentially blow up, potentially damaging, these kinds of communications can go either way if you're not careful. And so it's very good to think them out, to talk them out. If you have a good confidant that you can say, I wanted to say this, is this okay? You have to be very careful who you pick your confidants, because confidants can ruin things. They can say, oh, he's that way, I would, tell him a thing or two, you have to have somebody who's very mature and very, a lot of experience, and who, you have a history with, who you said something like, my husband said this and that and the other, and they didn't say, well, that's horrible that you said that. And then they answered, oh, I hear that must have been painful, but, I could understand why he said it, kind of take his side and help you grow from it, rather than validating that you're right and he's wrong and he's bad and you're wonderful, so you have to be careful. Anyway, the point is, the reason I'm saying this now is because processing and thinking how to say it is our job. It's not like a nice idea. It's like you're going to shoot yourself in the foot if you just go with all guns blazing and think, well, I want to say this and I'm just getting it off my chest. No, you could do damage for yourself, for the relationship, for yourself. So this is why we're going through this. I'm sorry. So the question I had on the table was, how, what do you think his reaction to that kind of a tone and conversation would be?
So I think it could have been two different things. The first one would be, okay, I'll work on maybe saying it more nicely if there's something that bothers me. Or he's also very black and white. There's no gray. Like if something bothers him and he sees that the way when he tells it to me, it's too harsh and it hurts me. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to keep it in. But I don't need that. I don't want him to keep it in. I want him to tell me, because then he's going to be resentful if he keeps it in.
So brainstorm. How about a brainstorm? Maybe some of the things he was upset that the dishes were left on the table and the egg coagulated on the side of the dish and whatever. And so this really upset him. So maybe he writes it on a Post-it note and puts it on your desk.
Good idea.
And maybe he puts it upside down so that when you are good and ready to hear it, you can, you flip it over, so that's not like staring you in the face, making steam come out of your ear. I mean, in other words, there's ways to brainstorm it where he can communicate it to, he can get it off his chest. It's not both, but if these are the kinds of things that it's not that it's not that it disappears, that he doesn't say it and then it disappears. He doesn't say it and then it builds up and he builds a, bad scenario in his mind. So, you could you could say to him, you said, can we brainstorm ways for you to communicate it for me so you get it off your chest, but it doesn't bonk me down and knock me down?
Yeah, I could. Also, he's not very patient by nature. So he'll be like, hey, whatever. It's too much. Like, it's draining for him to be like, okay, I'll say it more sensitively. He's like a man. He's a guy. He's on the phone. He's handling his business. He's very, do you know what I mean? He's not. It's a type.
Right. And I know women are very mad at me about that. And they're mad at their husbands about that, but they wouldn't want it any other way. I have women, the women who I call and say he's not really, he doesn't have any backbone or whatever. They have it much worse. So you'd rather have a husband who's got a backbone and then doesn't communicate as well as you'd want him to. So that's the problem you'd want to have. Right. But doesn't mean that you can't figure out ways for him to communicate things to you that aren't debilitating or make you feel less close to him.
Right.
Oh, we've got questions. Okay, come with the questions.
No, we actually have comments. Dina Fatura Anytime's live stream said, Yeah, I think, Miri, this is for you. I think Miri is so self-aware. So many of us go through the motions without thinking. Miri really respects herself and is so true to her authentic self. I think she's great. Kol hakavod.
Yay.
That's so nice. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. That really meant to me, and I feel it deeply. Thank you.
Yeah, it's adorable.
Yeah, because it means a lot to people to hear it's not, they're not the only ones, and other people are obviously going through the same thing, and everyone's trying to make all these types of things work. But yeah, I think across the board, people are just saying that if it's only the cleaning, then it's definitely on her to try to make that change. But if there's so many more underlying issues, then it may not be, it may not fix it. So.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Again, it's not just the cleaning, it's also being on top of the kids. And if he's not okay with this friend, then he's very strict with how I am with the kids. And it's also with like watching or video games. He doesn't want it at all. And I understand it's not the best, but people in their classes watch and they play video games, and my kids really, really like it. I have some boys, and also they have a lot of energy. It's helpful for me if I can have them watch or play. And I also do it with like incentives. Like I have a chart. If they do well, every sticker they get another minute. And I got them to exercise, and people say exercise after school, they get 20 minutes of playing or watching, and he gets very, very upset about that. He doesn't like it. But again, the house is my domain. He wants me to do the house mainly by myself. He helps when he can. But if I make decisions and I don't run it by him, like those type of things, he'll get very upset. Very.
That's
I mean, he's not like he just gets upset. He doesn't like he's not abusive or anything like that, but he really lashes out.
What does lashing out look like?
Meaning like, you never listen to me, you don't respect me, this is something so important to me. We made a rule that it's only on Sunday and Friday. How can you go and do this? And so he like took away the Wi-Fi, and there's no watching for 2 weeks. We're playing for 2 weeks. Whatever, my kids, but at the same time, he also comes home a little earlier to play with them because he knows that they're going to be bored, and he knows it's going to be a lot for me to have them, nagging and saying they want to watch. He'll help me, but not every day. This was just Sunday. And he'll also tell me, hire help, get people to come play sports with them, get people to do after school activities. He tells me, he's like, and I remember somebody said that I should get an organizer. He wants me to. He really wants me to do all those things. He's happy to pay for it. But I guess I do need to be more on top of it. I got housekeeping help. I got people to play with the kids. It's just now the next step is getting an organizer to help with that.
Yeah, if he's willing to, if he's making demands of you and then he's willing to help you to meet those demands, that seems fairly reasonable, yeah?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I mean, that's like self-work on his part of him recognizing that for him to make these crazy demands and then it's all on you. The whole issue about I just want to get in terms of the trust issue, because, when he says you don't respect me and this is a whole other issue in terms of him being able to trust you. Did you make an agreement with him that it was only Fridays and Sundays and then you broke that agreement?
Well, yeah, as a family, we made an agreement and we told the kids it's only Friday and Sunday. Okay. And yes, I did not, and I admit to it. I said I was wrong. I did not ask you first. And I got them to exercise and do what I want them to do. And then I let them watch, and I'm sorry. I did admit to it. It was wrong.
That's very good. And besides apologizing for it, did you make any statement about what would happen in the future? Did you make a commitment like I'll do my best not to do that in the future?
I don't think I said that.
That's very crucial because that's how you build trust, is if you broke somebody's trust, if you made a commitment and then you broke. And look, I'm not trying to be hard on you or whatever. I'm just saying that this whole thing about nurturing your husband and being the platform for where he can grow. If he doesn't feel like there's, you're saying you don't feel like he's listening to you or there for you or getting you or validating you. The first way to start is to make sure to listen to him and validate him. It just kind of goes hand in hand. So if you are making errors, in terms of eroding his trust in you, that you're going to keep the agreements that you made as a family. It's really, really crucial. Again, the reason I'm saying this is not to say bad you. The reason I'm saying this is go weiter, going forward, he needs to be able to feel like if you do have these deep discussions and you do what you say you're going to do there, you're going to have a much better chance of having these deep discussions about the things you want him to grow in and him keeping his word about them. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah. No pointing fingers and wagging fingers. The reason I'm telling that to you is for your own getting what you need in the relationship. And that starts by sometimes doing things that are a little bit uncomfortable ourselves, which is, I totally get it. Like you were overwhelmed and you wanted them to exercise and, this would seem expedient. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because it's so, I've done it myself. So I'm at fault and to blame, but like my husband will say like, I don't want the kids to have any more sugar or stuff during the week, or, the dentist bills were just like, we had cavities, whatever. And then I'm like busy. And so I need them to be happy with whatever they're doing, whatever. I'll be like, oh, if you did it, I'll give you this like treat. And I know that it's not, he specifically doesn't want me to do it. But I need the out because I need it to be easy for me. So it's almost like, I feel like, well, if he was here and he would see what was going on, he'd understand that I need this thing. Right. But on the other hand, I'm so undermining everything that he set up by doing that. And I know I'm totally at fault for doing that.
So
ask me if that
for your question about the candy, the question is, I don't know, in the moment, that's pretty tough. Maybe you could say, I'll give you, a basket of blueberries, because, whatever.
No, but it's the same with like games. He doesn't like the video games or he doesn't like the movies.
So you can go to your husband and say, can we renegotiate this? Because when I'm in crunch time and when it's like misery, whatever, and I want to get the kids to exercise, please tell me 5 things I can do besides giving them screen time. Or tell me one thing I can do besides giving them candy that will work and whatever. When my head is flying and I'm trying to get dinner ready for you and make your favorite dinner for you. And when I'm trying to keep the house nice for you, what should I do in that situation? Write me a script and I will try to do, what you're saying. We need to renegotiate it because I get to in a stuck place. You're not here and I don't know what to do. Please help me figure out what to do. And I will try to do what you come up with. And maybe we'll come up with it together. Maybe we should, read a book on parenting, or we should, talk with a outside source and get a third party to give us who's had 20 kids or 10 kids, whatever, who can give us ideas and how to get the kids to do stuff. But again, this is all in a conversation of he can trust you. And Miri, that's where we're going to have to end here today. But the bottom line is he needs to be able to trust you. And trusting doesn't mean that now you're going to do everything he says and everything you've agreed on. You should try and do everything you agree on, but you can renegotiate. You can come back and say, at the time we said Sundays and Fridays, I thought that was perfect. Great. I can do it. But I realize when I'm stressed with all the keeping the house clean and getting dinner and doing whatever and managing the organizer who's coming in that you wanted me to do, when I'm doing all this stuff, and I get to the crunch time, please tell me 5 things I can do in that situation and let him, it's together your problem. It's not his. And that is a trustworthy person. A trustworthy person is somebody who, when they don't keep their word or can't keep their word, or having difficulty keeping, they come back and say, okay, what do I do here? And giving him that respect and kindness to be able to do what is going to be the best, what's going to follow what he wants to do and also work for you.
Right. Leah, by the way, just because me, I'm a little sneaky. So I actually, to get out of it, I actually said to my kids, oh, you know what? Why don't you call up Abba and ask Abba if you could watch? And then they drive him crazy on the phone. And always he says, you know what, Ima, I let them have a half hour. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. So that's my own, me. I try to find. I try to find hacks, you know.
That's a hack, except it's better if you were to talk about him and say, what should I do?
I know. I'm
Okay.
trying, Leah.
Okay,
There's
working
so many
on
other
it.
things.
Work in progress. Ladies, this is Try This at Home. This is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show. Miri, thank you so much. You are so yummy and delicious. And you gave us an all in Leah in our marriages. And I'm very grateful to you. You should be blessed and you should have hatzlacha in everything that you do.
Amen. Thank you for everything.
And you also who are watching, thank you for being here today. This is Leah Richeimer, and we will see you next time.